Well, hey guys, here we are, wisdom number 16, which is embrace every angle of information. And this is one of those real life-changing epiphanies for me. It was in 1993, and people in my age group and above will obviously remember this more, but it was when it was the Waco Siege with the Davidian cult. And I think we were all sort of pretty much in shock while that coverage was happening. But there was a general consensus about what had happened and why it had happened and everything in between. But it was a few months later that I was in this little hippie bookshop in country Victoria, and I picked up the local magazine. And as I was heading back to Melbourne, I read an article on the siege that was completely different to what the mainstream media at the time had fed Australia, and I'm sure the rest of the world. And it was a real mind-blowing moment because their perspective was as possible as the mainstream media perspective that we'd already heard. And it was a real moment where it was like my brain almost did an absolute somersault in my head. There's this idea that there could be a really, really different perspective and a different truth to the one that you've necessarily been fed all your life. So for me, that was a real turning point as far as the way I look at information, especially mainstream media information, and it made me deeply question. It also sort of put me into always looking at the opposite angles. So, you know, I was raised a Catholic. I rejected it many, many years ago, the institution of Catholicism. Not everything's bad about Catholicism, but I also looked at the opposite points of view. So I loved Christopher Hitchens. I thought he was brilliant. Richard Dawkins. Very happy to read all of them. Doesn't mean I agree with everything that they say, that they've got one point of view, and I'm open to listening to it. Heck, there was a time when I read some David Icke, much to the amusement of my husband, but I've got to tell you, if you read David Icke, you can never look at the world with the same eyes again. He's got a very different way of looking at things, and why isn't his view welcome too? You know, why do we always push these other people's ideas away? You know, I'm a feminist. Of course I'm a feminist. I want equal rights for everybody, but I will also read a misogynist point of view, which is not always pleasant, but I want to know what they say, what they think. You know, the climate change conversation, I've spent probably as much time reading the denier's perspective as I am reading what I believe is the truth, which is the scientists. But I need to understand all sides of an argument because I don't believe that I can make my own mind up until I read all different perspectives. So that's been important for me. You know, it's probably a part of why I became a communications professional. Information, the way information is presented, what's truth, what's not truth, just really questioning everything that you read and learn and know. We all need to be doing it today. And obviously since then, especially in the last decade, we've got social media. And in the first decade of this century, we created more information that has been created in all of human history. And every 2 years, that amount of information is now doubling. So we're all swamped with information, but technologically, we're not very good at understanding what's real and what's not. So critical thinking skills are absolutely an essential requirement for the future, but how do you get them? Well, I believe that you get critical thinking skills by being open to all of the different types of information. So it's obviously had a big impact on my life. If you're close to me and you follow me and what I do on social media, you know that I cover a lot of different topics, and I share knowledge with real passion. That's why I love social media so much, because we've got access to this incredible amount of information and we can all learn from each other and be inspired by each other. But equally, I know a lot of people get overwhelmed by it and then they can get stuck in the echo chambers of social media. So Sacha Baron Cohen did a recent interview or speech where he talked about Facebook would have allowed Hitler today, and I totally agree with it. The algorithms of social media feed you what you want. So if you're only reading one point of view, you're only going to get one point of view. If you're reading every angle and every point of view, your algorithms will feed you that too. And yeah, it's confronting, facing up to an idea that really goes against your essential core. But you know, going back to being a communications professional, if I don't understand how people speak, how they think, the language that they use, I don't believe that I'm capable of being able to change their minds if I do want to change their minds. So, I'm out there trying to get people on board in the fight against climate catastrophe, but I need to understand how the language that is being used, and I need to be able to speak in a way that's going to bring people to me, not push people away from me. So that's why I want to really encourage wisdom number 16. Embrace every angle of information. Don't be scared of it. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but it's really interesting to get that wider perspective, and sometimes they might just shift your thinking a little bit, and I don't know, I like having my thinking shifted. So don't be scared of getting another point of view. All right, so that's wisdom number 16. Embrace every angle of information. I hope it's been useful. I will see you tomorrow.